For some people, that's a storm shelter or a basement. But if you have a bathroom, especially one that's in the middle of your house, or even a closet, especially like a coat closet, that's going to be a better option rather than just sitting in a room that has exterior walls. So keep that in mind. Make sure you have good shoes on. Make sure everybody's dressed and ready to go. Again, Alpena, Little, Arkansas, towards Ridgway and Francis as well. This is in Carroll County. This is going to continue to push out of Carrollton and into this county here very shortly, if not already. So this thing is moving off to the north and east in between 15 and 25 miles an hour. I'm going to put a track on that for everybody.
As well, too.
Yes.
And if not for the tornado, looks like there's some really high winds that are going to come into that area, so you're likely to get some tree damage and some structural damage just from the high winds alone. Also, this is impacting areas on Highway 62 from Alpena to Green Forest, and folks who live on the south side of Green Forest, down, I think it's Springfield Road or something down there south of the high school. You're probably just on the outer edge of this, but it is going to be moving to the east side of town and then just to the north of Alpena there into northeast Carroll County and northwestern sections of Boone County.
Yeah, it's likely going to cross 65, as you can see here, over the next 20 minutes or so. That's when it's projected to, at least, pushing probably into Alpena right now. So you need to be in your safe zone. Ridgway, you also want to move to your safe place as well. Eventually, if this warning is extended, it would impact the Self area around 11 o'clock. So this is, again, going to cross 65 down in Arkansas, staying north of Harrison, but I'm sure many of you are hearing the sirens already. I will say, if you live off to the west of Green Forest and Rule as well, the threat has already passed you, but still stay indoors though, because we do have that flooding rain and those high winds as well, near 50 miles an hour. Those are confirmed threats. This is not a confirmed threat, but it's something that we're seeing very clear on radar. We're looking at a very tight rotation signature here, not only on velocity, which is what's showing up on your screen, but also on reflectivity. You're seeing kind of that hook shape, which is very classic when we're talking about tornadoes. And additionally, quite a bit of lightning in this cell as well, which is not good. Is there I see a hatch here on radar, Ron. Did they clarify what they are hatching this warning area for?
I haven't, yeah, I haven't seen anything come out.
Okay. So again, no confirmed reports.
But I mean, it has a very tight rotation. I think folks really need to take these warnings seriously down in that area and move to your tornado shelter.
All right, let's pull up. Okay, so this is correlation coefficient. We're not seeing a debris ball with this.
Well, there may be. You'll notice just to the northwest.
We need to give
this
another run through.
That brighter patch right there underneath that black line.
Right here, but I want to give it one more scan to really see if this starts to pick up some more, because we are seeing some of that discoloration.
Yeah, right in here.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing the lightning a little bit farther off to the north and east. So this is where that tornado warm storm is heading towards, and where all of that lightning is, that is a good sign that that rotation is staying pretty well contained and also strengthening as well. That's a lot more hail, or that's a lot more lightning than the previous storms we were tracking. Here's that hook shape that we've been talking about as well. Now, again, moving through Carrollton, heading towards Ridgway, and we're going to see this cross 65 here over the next 20 minutes. And when you're moving into your safe space, you might want to bring some things with you. Certainly want to have a plan for all of your pets as well as your important documents as well. This tornado warning in particular goes until 11 o'clock tonight. So we've still got another half hour or so to watch this thing and how it interacts with some higher terrain as well. But yeah, that is not a good sign. We're looking at velocity right now, and you can really see that tight rotation just over Carrollton. Again, it's likely past this at this point, approaching the Ridgway area. And let's see, probably going to stay north of Batavia.
That's Batavia.
Batavia, sorry. Yeah, moving through Alpena right now, and then Ridgway and Burlington. You're kind of next on the list here. But if you live west of Carrollton, you are likely in the clear. It looks like this thing is now just crossing or sitting on the line of Carroll and Berry County. So again, if you live in Harrison, this is nothing to be concerned about. This is staying north of you, but still keep an eye out for any wind damage in your area. Because regardless if you're in a tornado warning, there are some very strong winds with this system right now overall. So that could very well pick up things like tree branches and anything that's really light, and it can turn it into projectiles, throwing that into your house or your car. So even if you're not in the tornado warning, if you're in this general North Arkansas area, you might want to move to an interior room inside your house just so you can stay away from any wind damage, whether that be from a tornado or not. We've already seen that wind damage, as Michael explained earlier. A tree was actually uprooted and put into somebody's house. So no confirmation if that was due to a tornado, but we are seeing some very strong rotation with this cell in particular.
So they're saying that the damage probability is considerable with that storm. And so again, as I said, this thing has a very strong signature, rotation signature on that. Tulsa is seeing that as well. And they're saying that there's likelihood going to be damage with that storm. So folks need to, again, take this warning seriously and move immediately to your tornado shelter as quickly and as calmly as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is already past Alpena, it seems. I'm going to drag this out again just to kind of show you where this is headed. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit here. All right, towards Burlington, Self, and Willis. So I've kind of narrowed down where exactly that rotation is. So we're not tracking this whole thing, but we're tracking this little area of rotation where it kind of notches in like that, where all that lightning is located. That's where the rotation is. So it's expected to push out towards Self over the next 30 minutes. It's likely going to stay north of Bergman, but moving through Alpena right now. So if you know anybody in that area, check in with them here pretty soon. Make sure that everybody's okay. If you know anybody in that area, make sure that they are in their safe place immediately, because again, we're getting some very strong signatures that there could be a tornado in progress. One of those signatures being this hook echo that we've seen along with that lightning. And again, the National Weather Service has outlined this area for considerable damage. So that means that there may be some damage that comes from this system, whether it's from a tornado or not. The winds are certainly very strong, and that rotation is strong as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have something in progress. Again, no confirmed reports right now. Do we have any photos coming into the weather app maybe?
I haven't been able to look. What I'm trying to do right now,
let's see,
is I'm actually trying to look at our Harrison camera, and it's actually pointed to the south. So while I'm sitting here, I'm going to turn this thing around to the west and see if we can pick up that incoming thunderstorm.
Okay,
And so we're on top of the old Crockett Tower there, looking over downtown. And so we're going to move this thing to the west a little bit, and then kind of off to the northwest. You can see that there. And I'm going to tilt it up because we're actually looking, and there's a kind of a mountain to the west, and that's the storm right there. So
yeah,
we're looking up into the south side of that thunderstorm. You can see that approaching kind of the northwest side of Boone County there, and Harrison kind of moving around just a little bit right in there.
Yeah, it looks like the rotation has officially pushed into Boone County, because we are seeing a little bit of what's called a debris ball, but it's not very well defined. We're just seeing some different values kind of scattered in here, some of those different colors starting to show. What this measures is essentially what is in the sky. So you're seeing a lot of red. Well, this is all rain that's falling in the area, but when you see some of this green, sometimes you'll see a blue color as well. That means there are things in the sky that shouldn't be there, and the radar picks up on that. So this is a really good way to measure debris, and we are getting a little bit more different colors here scattered just to the south of Ridgway, where that rotation is being reported. And again, this goes until 11 o'clock, so we've got quite a bit of time for this thing to continue to progress and tighten. The rotation has been very strong. See, that's exactly where I highlighted. And you can see that rotation now. It's a little muddied rather right there, but it's now just crossing over into from Carroll County into Boone County.
Yeah. And it is crossing, it looks like Highway 62.
Yeah, 62, approaching 65.
So it's going to be right over, it's going to be right over Alpena right now, or just east of Alpena. And that's going to be taking it over towards the Ridgway area. So folks in Ridgway, I need for you to move into your tornado shelter, as we're still seeing a very strong circulation on that storm. There's some other areas in here too.
Let's see. Let's see.
Looks like Land Flat Road, that area in there.
Okay, just trying to zoom in to show you some more towns. Yeah, moving, likely pushing through Alpena right now, heading towards...
Lick Branch Road, if you live off Lick Branch Road, I need for you guys to take shelter there.
Yeah, Burlington as well.
Ayers Road, those areas west of Ridgeway. I need for you guys to all be Lick Branch. I need for you to be in your tornado shelter as well. So folks between Alpena and Lick Branch and Ridgeway, that area along and north of 62, I need for all of you guys to be in your tornado shelters.
Yeah, that's right. And again, this tornado warning goes until 11 o'clock. And I don't like the look on velocity. That rotation is very strong.
Yeah, the rotation is very strong with this.
Yeah, that's not good. Let's check out correlation coefficient again to see if we have anything else popping up on here. Not seeing a whole lot, but again,
on the reflectivity, we've kind of lost a little bit of the hook. So I'm thinking that the rear flank downdraft has kind of cut in a little bit. Now, that's not a bad thing. However, if you live in Carrollton and along Highway 62 and south, you're probably seeing some really, really strong winds on the south side of that potential tornado. So you're going to have straight line wind damage in addition to the potential tornado damage that's located just to your north. It's headed up towards Lick Branch.
Yeah, that's right, Ron. And we're seeing a kind of a very tight gradient here when it comes to these radar values. Another sign of very strong winds at the surface. And a rear flank downdraft that comes on the rear end of the storm. So past the tornado point. But what we're seeing is those winds kind of extending out from the system, which usually ends up messing up the rotation in the storm, especially if it's a really strong downdraft. Now that's entering some cooler air into this area as well. So those winds are not only strong, but likely coming down pretty cold as well.
Nicolette?
Yes.
I'm recording a 76 mile per hour wind along Highway 62, about 2 or 3 miles east of Alpena.
Okay.
So that's going to be headed over towards Ridgeway.
Okay.
And if you live at the 60-62 junction right there, I need for anybody around that junction north towards Ridgeway to also be in your tornado shelter. Those strong winds have just taken a jump, and there's actually about 50 mile per hour winds, a little more than 50 mile per hour winds in there right now at that 62-65 junction between Harrison and Ridgeway.
Yeah, so I've actually highlighted the area that Ron's talking about here. Again, winds could be as high or upwards of 70 miles an hour in this region that I've circled. Now we're seeing still a lot of lightning in this area. The original hook signature that we saw earlier, that has fallen apart a little bit, but still some very strong winds pushing in here. And you can see that right here on radar. We're also still getting quite a bit of lightning in this region. So there could still be some rotation, especially pulling towards the ground, but it looks a little bit more disorganized. But
all right, the 70 mile per hour winds, Nicolette, are pulling up northeast, so the tornado is kind of taking a turn, and now it looks to come in. So you're getting really high winds in Ridgeway, but it's between Ridgeway and Burlington on 65
right here
where we're getting the high winds, and I'm clocking 72 mile per hour winds right there. There's about 65 miles an hour of what we call gate-to-gate shear, so that's still a pretty strong rotation. However, I think that strong wind has kind of cut off the tornado a little bit, and I would bet that it's going to kind of wobble or weaken a little bit. Now, that's not to say that it can't re-strengthen, but we still have some potential spin in there, and even if we don't, we have those 70 mile per hour winds that are going to create some pretty good wind damage. So if you live about halfway, maybe a third of the way from Burlington to Ridgeway, that's where those stronger winds are going to be, right in that area, and it's going to cross Highway 65. So folks in that area need to be moving to your tornado shelters.
Yeah, and if you know anybody that's traveling on 65 right now, you might want to check in with them, especially if they're passing through North Arkansas, because those very strong winds, regardless if there's a tornado or not, 70 mile an hour winds certainly going to at least jostle the car, if not pick up some debris, like some low-hanging branches or some weak branches off of a tree, and that could certainly cause quite a bit of damage, not only to cars, but to houses and people as well. I want to stress, do not go outside and try to see this rotation or try to see what could be a tornado because it's very hard to see this. We've got some really high rainfall rates, some very high winds being reported as well. And we are also, it's nighttime, so it's very difficult to see the threat, and it's also very hard to take pictures of it as well. So it's really not worth any of your time to head outside to put yourself in danger. This is right now pushing into Ridgeway. So if you're in Ridgeway, you need to be in your safe spot, not only because there may or may not be a tornado in progress, but because of those strong winds. Regardless, 70-mile-an-hour winds are very, very strong. So keep that in mind. The severe threat is not just because of a tornado. We're also seeing flooding rain across the Ozarks as well. But the main hazard, again, is this tornado warning, which goes for another 20 minutes, pushing through Burlington with kind of this stronger line here, but likely the rotation is staying south of Burlington right now, likely pushing in just around Ridgeway, if not just farther north of Ridgeway, crossing 65 likely here in the next 5 to 10 minutes. So again, if you live in this region, if you live in this tornado warned area, again, off to the east of Alpena, because that rotation has passed, but if you live in this region, it's time to move to your safe place, likely an interior room inside your home, as far away as from windows and from exterior walls as possible. Ideally, you want a basement or something of that nature to kind of keep you a little bit more safe, but anything is better than standing near windows or exterior walls. So here's a little bit of a storm track for you, likely to move through Burlington by around 10:48. That gives you 10 minutes to prepare. It might just stay to the south of Burlington, though. However, areas of South as well as, is that Lowry?
Yeah, so I actually have, so the beginning part of that cone, Nicolette, is right on the center of that circulation.
Right here.
So, yeah, so the circulation is kind of, so let me kind of just demonstrate this just a little bit. So what's happening here is that, see this curve right here, folks? That's where the air is coming up through the thunderstorm and down through the back and coming in like this. And so what it's doing is it's sweeping. This is the flanking line. And so this is where high winds are, but there's also some high winds right in the center of this right in here, because I'm actually looking on another radar on a different computer while Nicolette's out here. So this is where the center of that circulation is right here, and the 70-mile-an-hour winds are located right ahead of this, and then when you get away, they drop off to about 50, and then down here they're to about 40. But this thing is moving right up here, and it's going to pass, just as Nicolette said, just a hair south of Burlington, but this thing has been moving a little bit to the left. So if you're in Burlington, I need for you to be in your tornado shelter. Now, the other thing about the other radar signature I'm looking at is that the rotation has weakened. It's not really as tight and as strong as it was when it was down here by Carrollton. That was a really strong rotation signature. But there is still rotation with the storm, so I don't want to downplay that. It's just not as strong as it was earlier. And again, it is moving off to the north and east, and you can see behind me, this is the arrival times on some of these towns. So Lowry, Boone, Sycamore, these are all very small towns in the path of that storm. Burlington's probably one of the biggest. But eventually, as you take this thing out, this is going to take it up towards Bergman and maybe a little bit more towards South Lead Hill and maybe kind of between South Lead Hill and Lead Hill in northeastern Boone County. And if you live up in Diamond City may also eventually get into the path of this. And so that's, Sugarloaf Marina is up in there. So folks that have the houseboats and stuff, you'll want to make sure that we're into shore and docked up there, make sure everybody's back to the dock, and you don't have very long to do that with this thing moving at about 30 miles per hour. So it's going to be up there in about 20 minutes or so. So again, this is the path of that thunderstorm in northern Boone County. And again, rotation is weakened, but there's still some really strong winds with this thing. And again, those strong winds are going to be right in the path. Now, these pictures take a little while to update because we only get them every few minutes from the National Weather Service, and it has to, go out and up to the web and down to us in the computer. So at 30 miles an hour, it's probably already over in this area right in here, and then moving on up to the north and to the east very quickly. So again, folks, in the path of this thunderstorm, be looking out the window. Have we taken the camera from Harrison? We saw quite a bit of lightning with that storm here just a few minutes ago. So it's a pretty sizable storm. And then Nicolette, while you're over there, she disappeared. We'll try to get the Diamond City camera, and I'll try and orient that to the southwest so folks up there can watch the thunderstorm move into northeastern Boone County and get a picture of what's happening in that part of our viewing area as well. So again, while she's gone, let me just go ahead and take care of some of this. And we'll put some of this stuff back on. And
I'm back.
okay, so let me get that off of there. So this is the rotation, and it looks like it's actually maybe has just increased. It was not quite this strong. So what happens sometimes is these things, they're really strong. That rear flank downdraft comes out, kind of wraps in, it cuts off the inflow, and these things go woo a little bit, and they kind of wobble. And then it takes a little while, and they kind of start to re-strengthen once the air flow gets reorganized again. And so this is the new picture that came in. What's interesting about this is you actually have two centers. So you have one here at Burlington, and you have another one down here just to the south of Burlington. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that storm, whether or not it tries to develop, say, a second funnel as the first one disappears. So what happens there is this. You have to think of these tornado thunderstorms. The whole thing is spinning. I mean, not just a little portion of the storm, but the whole storm is spinning. I mean, these things, 30, 40,000 feet are spinning like a top. And so what happens is the air is fluid, right? If you fill your bathtub with water and you run your hand down the bathtub very quickly, you create these whirlpools and eddies, right? Well, the air is fluid. And so you're taking this really strong thunderstorm and the jet stream is flushing through here and it's spinning this thing. And so what happens is you have a tornado, the whole storm is spinning. And so this one lifts, but there's another little spin that happens on the outside of the storm. And what happens is as this one dies, you can develop a second one. And we actually saw that years ago with the storm that went from Pierce City to Battlefield. And so what happens is the tornado kind of skips along, or the thunderstorm creates multiple tornadoes, and what happens is you have one for a while, the storm kind of wobbles a little bit, it reforms, it develops another tornado, and so you have this broken track that goes along. So in some of these stronger thunderstorms, that's not unusual for that to happen, is what I'm telling you. So we have to, that's why when we start giving you these things like this, we want everybody that's in here between Ridgeway and Burlington to be in your tornado shelters because of that, because sometimes we don't know if it's this circulation or if it's this circulation right here. Okay. So this thing is all going to be traveling off to the north and east, and we'll find out here in a little bit whether or not the storm gets reorganized enough to actually have one funnel, or if it could have, one dying funnel and a new one forming, and we'll find that out here when the next pictures come in. But you can see over my shoulder, let me get out of the way, see over my shoulder, I mean, here's Bergman, here's Lead Hill, you get South Lead Hill in the middle, and so this thing is kind of traveling kind of like this. So probably more to the northwest of Bergman, up towards the Lead Hill area, and maybe up towards the Diamond City area. Okay, and there they put in a new severe thunderstorm warning for northwestern Boone County. Nicolette, see if the Diamond City camera, which way is that's pointing?
I already have that pulled up. I have it.
Okay.
I had to point it to the southwest.
Okay, let's see if we can see anything on that.
I've been waiting. It's really dark. I see something when the lightning goes, but I can't confirm.
Okay.
But we did receive, Ron, we did receive from the National Weather Service in Tulsa a local storm report of a confirmed tornado when it was in Carrollton, over in Carroll County, Arkansas, and that was around 10:18. So that was well over, but it was confirmed via camera.
Okay, I think that was off of Gaither Mountain. It's one of the cameras that Fayetteville has. Located on the top of Gaither Mountain. I think they provided that report. It was sort of unconfirmed, and so I wanted to, they said they saw it. We didn't see a picture, so we didn't know whether or not that's confirmed. But again, very strong rotation, so I can't discount it. And again, we have the same kind of thing here. We've got this rotation, these really strong winds that are on this thing. So just to kind of, let me kind of do that for you here, Rook, so you can see what kind of winds I'm talking about with this. And I'll put that on there, and I need to take off the tornado warning and the impact, and then I can query this for you. But if we do this, see those winds? So the plus minus means in this case, it's moving away from the radar. And so you don't have to worry about the positive or negative. That has no meaning at all. The idea is that there's a 53 mile per hour wind up around Burlington right now. And, you can see as we go away, those winds get lighter. See how they're 40 miles an hour and then 40. But in this really bright area, that's where they're almost 60. So that's what I'm watching on the radar, and that's how we know how high these winds are. And so you can see, we have these really high winds right around the center of that circulation, and so there's really something very violent going on in this area right here, and that's why we want all these people to be in your tornado shelters, and that's why we also want the folks down here to be in your shelter, because you have these strong winds, and what we're doing is we're just getting one of these pixels. And so the problem is that, is it this pixel or this pixel or this pixel, right? So, we choose one and we see that the winds are really high, but around them there may be a pixel that may be a little higher. So that's why I want to err on the side of caution and say, we've got these really strong winds, could be, 60 plus mile per hour going to the north of Harrison and here. And that's why I want all these folks to be in their tornado shelter tonight. And 281, where this is Highway 7 right in here. So folks that are kind of north of 7 and north of Harrison, again, I want all of you guys to be in your tornado shelters. So you can see what we're talking about with some really dangerous conditions in that part of our viewing area this evening. All right, let me put the reflectivity back on here for you so we can keep an eye on that and see what's happening with the storm. So good news here is that we're not picking up those notches anymore. However, notice down here, we've got this thing going on. We'll have to watch that. And it is on the south side of the storm. And if we were to form a new tornado, it would be closer to the south because this air down here is undisturbed. This is where all your untapped energy is, and it's moving into the storm. And so what happens is this part of the storm can grow very quickly, right? And so as it grows quickly and it's working on all this air that's undisturbed, and what here is we got outflow, we got inflow, we got all this turbulence and stuff going on in here. And so we're not seeing that here, but if we were to see something, we may have to watch down there. So again, north of 62 towards Ridgeway, since we haven't, passed the whole batch of rain and the whole storm is not through yet, I need for you guys to still be in your tornado shelter. And because of that, and because of the time length that we're talking about here, make sure you turn up the sound on your television. Again, grab your cell phone, grab your charger too, to make sure that you're have as much charge in your phone as you can in case the power goes out tonight. So we want you to stay informed. Okay, here's the next one. And it looks like this thing is becoming a really strong wind producer is what's going on here. Notice we kind of fell apart with our little hook echo down here by Ridgeway. That's great news there because we're not trying to develop anything there. But we've got this right in here, and that is a signature still where we have some really strong winds, which I just showed you a minute ago. So again, all of that is moving over towards south, and that is going to take it up here to just south of 14. So let me see if I can kind of get this reoriented here a little bit.
I will say, Ron, the storm is weakening a little bit, and on our radar, we're registering around 44 dBz in the highest part of the cloud.
Yeah, we're also looking through a fair amount of clouds, though, too, Nicolette, and a fair amount of rain to get down there, so there may be some attenuation on that, so we want to be a little bit cautious with that. There's still, but you're right, there's some of the rotation. It does look like it's weakening a little bit there. That's great news. As far as correlation coefficient goes, there's still maybe a little bit of a signature in this area. See this bright patch in here? So there still may be a little bit of debris being carried along with the storm if it touched down earlier, as they reported down there by Gaither Mountain. So again, this is still a loft. And the thing about that debris is you got to be careful because you never know when it's going to come flying out, and you don't know what it consists of. I mean, is it, leaves and twigs? Probably not a big deal. Is it shingles? Sheet metal? Things like that can get carried an awful long way in a storm. So that's why we don't want you to be outside trying to view these things, because we don't know what's going to come flying out of the sky. And of course, it's dark. You're not going to see it coming. And we call those things, obviously, not flying missiles. And so you don't want to get hit with any of that kind of stuff, too. So stay inside where it's safe until this storm passes tonight. That's really the best thing that we can do here.
I'm not seeing anything on our weather camera through several flashes of lightning in terms of damage and potential tornado. So I'm not seeing anything like that on our cameras.
It looks like the wind fields are coming down a little bit with this thing.
That's good.
Yeah, with 50 mile per hour, 46 mile per hour. So this thing is weakening as it's moving up towards the Diamond City, Lead Hill area. And up there at the 280-114 junction too. If you're going to be just south of the 280-114 junction, I need for you to be thinking about, being at least in the center of your house, if not down in your storm shelter or Frady hole, as they call it in some places. Okay.
We'll have that tornado warning until 11 o'clock.
So again, I'm actually encouraged by the look of the signature in here. The one thing that is a little bit worrisome is this right here. We call that a rear inflow notch. So this sometimes is an indication of either the rear flank downdraft, or it can also be these thunderstorms, because they're so high in the atmosphere, right? They're so high up. What they can do is the mid-level jet stream comes in, and what happens is that in a thunderstorm you have a lot of vertical development, and you have a lot of updraft, downdraft. And so at times as the jet stream comes into the back of that storm, that jet stream can actually be diverted down and then out the front of the storm. And so you can get these microbursts that are really strong. And that's because of the sudden diversion of the jet stream down to the ground. And there's the cold air. When the thunderstorm collapses on itself, you can get these really strong downbursts. So again, I would think this is more of a wind threat now. And it looks like, have they ended the tornado warning?
I believe they ended the tornado warning.
And that makes sense too, because as we've been saying, the whole signature seems to be collapsing a little bit. So with that in mind, let's see where we are, 10:54. We'll go ahead and release you to program, but know that Nicolette and I are here watching the weather to keep you safe tonight. Have a great evening, everybody.